And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename, so we've got that going for us too.
Yep, we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
So far, so true.
Today is our 57th episode.
Good news, everyone.
No, not this time. No.
All right, fine. What do you got that's better?
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime.
What? Why is that?
Because 57 is a prime number.
No, you're fired.
I calls them like I sees them.
Wait, that's my shtick. Also, can we even say that?
Hey, I'm a part-time whale biologist.
No, I mean the Amazon Prime bit. Like, we don't want to upset Amazon. They're not sponsoring us. They own Twitch after all.
It's free advertising. Anyway, as always, we are here to answer your development and design questions about idle champions.
Oh, that's what we're here for. Oh, anyway, if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, the overlay is totally not updated, by the way. But yes, Marvel had a really bad streak there for a while, huh?
You are right. We got distracted.
We were talking about Futurama.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, don't worry about Thor: Dark World, though, because I think Winter Soldier's up next.
Yeah, that's good.
That is a much better one. All right.
That's a good one. But we can talk about that next week. Tune in next week as we talk about a good Marvel movie.
Right. As always, we pulled some questions from the previous show that we did not get to, and we will answer some of those while waiting for new questions to come in. And I've also got some updates, of course, from items that we flagged for the dev team. And before I do that, actually, why don't we just flip this? Justin, you read the fixes and new features,
okay.
And I will update the overlay that we just totally slipped our minds on.
Okay, let's see here. So this is written in some sort of weird language that I can't decode. Davish, I think. Anyway, fixes and new features. Yeah, it looks like we've got a couple here that we've noted from last week. That I'm not sure if these are out or going to be out, but they're certainly coming soon. So it looks like trials should no longer block a non-trials party from progressing when the campaign ends. That's a good thing. So it won't immediately ask you to convert your favor or whatever, I think. The number of completed season daily quests is now shown on the quest tab in the seasons dialog, so you can keep track of how many dailies you've done. The seasons dialog will remember the last tab you viewed and go to that tab the next time the dialog opens, so you can keep it on your quest one and not have to continuously click that every time you bring it up. After completing a tracked season milestone quest, the quest for the next tier of that milestone will automatically be tracked. So that should be a little bit helpful, so it doesn't just immediately disappear and then you have to go back and retrack it.
All right. I think that overlay is corrected.
Looks right to me.
Close enough.
That's the date, that's the episode, that's the code.
All right. And then I can move on to the ongoing items. There was one on here that I think Justin got rid of, but I've remembered that it's supposed to be here, so I'm just going to call it up anyway, and that is that I'm supposed to bug Justin about the missing node on the strong core. Justin, where is the missing node?
Can't blame a guy for trying.
That's not the answer, though.
Still looking for it.
Okay. We will be adding keyboard controls to the journal for scroll, recall for familiar, better cycling for the champions on console. So when switching between them when you're hitting Y. So I've got here that the slider for multiple scrolls and trials was added, but it was using 2 scrolls at a time. So we need to get a fix in for that. Indication for unread changelog entries, an indication for the background party when it's no longer progressing, making sure that escape properly closes all menus and dialogues, saving feats with formations. We've still got those colorblind friendly card updates to get in. And from last week, we've added a new one here, which is to put a visual indicator on equipment to show that it has a cap, something like, level X out of Y. And
yeah,
I know Justin vetoed a progress bar because those ones that have infinity on the levels, but
the progress bar would never fill up. We talked about this.
I still want one. Okay, leftover questions. Questions from last week's show. First question left over from last week's show is from Toffer the Returned, asking, should we be expecting a new Modron core every season?
It's a great question. We certainly, there's only been one data point here, so it's hard to set a trend from that. I can tell you that for season 2, the reward track will not include a Modron core. Our plan is to really just kind of mix it up, have some different things every season, and try and find things that players really get into and go for. And so, yeah, no Modron core next season, but it could make a return in subsequent seasons.
Okay. Does that mean what does that mean the core item or the core item is going to be, Justin? Or are we sharing that
for next season? No, I don't think we're quite ready to talk about that yet.
Okay.
But,
yeah. I'm going to interrupt you for a second here before you go into the next question, because I realize there are 2 other items that we should give an update on. The first one is that we are still making progress on testing of the new offline progress system that's coming along well.
Coming along quite well, I think. The last I heard, it's working quite well.
Yeah, as far as Mark was telling us, there's no sort of major issues. It's sort of working through the minor pieces. I think we might be letting some new people in shortly to get a little bit more eyes on that before we end up going just out to the general player base. And the second thing is, it is our plan, of course, tomorrow to release an option to opt into Shop 3 for any player who is interested. And that will come with the option to get a free familiar, whose name is now eluding me. Do you remember what the name of that familiar was, Justin?
Which one? Sorry, I was distracted by the fact that I'm an idiot. What was the question again?
The Shop 3 opt-in familiar.
Oh, God. No, I do not remember what that is called.
All right. Wait, is 57 not a prime number, Justin?
It's really not.
I didn't even check.
But you know what?
It's
a multiple primes, which, I mean, how do you even know that? I mean, that's what they use for cryptography. Like, there's no way to know that. Anyway,
I think we better move on.
We'd better move on very quickly. Let's see. The next question from last week's show is from Rough Rider 91. This is a fun question. This is a callback to some previous episodes during construction. The question is, will Elisa be allowed to walk through the back of the tavern?
Yes, yeah. Definitely the context on that is my streaming desk used to point out into the hallway in Unit 7, which was right into Elisa's office. It was not into what some people thought was, in fact, a bathroom. I don't know how we can make that work. We're pretty tightly set up in here, but...
You can't tell, but there's a wall about 6 inches behind Dave and about 6 inches behind me.
Yeah, no, I will let her know that she is missed, however. I'm sure she'll get a kick out of that. All right, next question. This one is from OG17. Healing and tanking are back in a state where they don't hold up at commonly reached areas. Is this up for another rework?
Yes, tanking and healing is another area where I think the game needs some work, some design focus. It is something that the design team, aka me and Pete, have talked about recently. We don't have a sort of a timeline for when we're going to take a look at it, but it is likely that we're making some changes to healing, tanking, champion health, monster damage, etc. at some point in the next 6 months to a year, with any luck. Hopefully. We're trying there's some fun stuff in season 2 with tanking that we're trying, so stay tuned for that. Hashtag minor spoiler. Next question from O-Ring 1975, or maybe O-Ring 1975. And their question is, what programming languages is Idle Champions written in?
I love this question because it's a freebie. So the front end of Idle Champions is Unity, and it's written in C#, and the back end of Idle Champions is PHP, and the main data for Champions is stored in MySQL. So it is a Unity, C#, PHP, MySQL game. There we have it. Next question. This question is from Duxors. Any chance we get a greater pan range on the Modron screen? It's hard to see the edges when zoomed in.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is an annoyance that I have as well. I think it's something that we want to take a look at, especially when you have like the filter open. It's hard to see any tiles that are in the top left corner. So yeah, I think that's something that we could look into making sure it works at a larger number of resolutions.
Okay. All right, on to this week's questions. Wow, you've been busy. All right, first question is from Branwen Kenku. What is the reason we can't see our other favors when we are converting? When I was a newer player, it was really troublesome not being able to see which campaign it would best go to.
So I'm not sure. I would love some clarification on this question, because when you're going to convert favor, it should show you all of your available options. You can't convert favor to a favor that you don't have any of, because all of the favor conversions are percentage increases. And so if you try to convert favor to a favor where you have 0 of it, 0 plus 100% is still 0. So we don't let you do that, because that would suck for you. So it should show all of the available favors that you can convert to, unless you're wanting to look at, like, actually click over to the other favors to see all of the blessings. I see. Yeah, that's a tough one. So generally when we pop up the favor conversion and you're being forced to convert, it's because we want you to convert before you go and do anything else. And I think if we let you leave that screen and go look at some other things, that it might be confusing as to from that point on as to why you can't exit out of that screen, because we close out, we don't let you hit the X button there. And so I feel like if we let you go to the other favor screens, we could potentially be opening ourselves up to a bunch of tickets of people being like, hey, I can't close the blessings dialogue. Yeah, I'm not sure how we would kind of railroad that one, or sort of direct that one to be kind of good UI. I'll have to think about that. But thanks for the clarification there to the folks who mentioned that in chat.
Just highlight all these. Where were we? Okay. Going back up. Next question here is from Old Man Master. The question says, this was brought up a few months ago. When running trials, there are 2 different color green bars that represent Tiamat's health. The light green bar is the damage you've done already, and the dark green is the damage that will be calculated at the start of a new day. Correct me if I'm wrong. Currently, when the new day starts, the light green bar jumps up to where the dark green bar is, versus the dark green bar going down to the light green bar. I think this is the reverse of what was intended. Thoughts?
Yeah, it does sound like there's a bug there of some sort, and I will see if I can get someone to look at that very soon. We are working on a bunch of Trials of Mount Tiamat updates. A bunch of them actually made it into the last build lock at the end of September. I'm trying to see what month it is. The end of September. So hopefully we'll see those come out pretty soon on all platforms. Just as soon as the Switch build gets approved over at Nintendo. So yeah, we should see some trials updates then. Not including this one, because I think I don't think this bug would have gotten addressed in those, but certainly some other things are coming down the pipeline that should be good.
Okay. Next one. Oh my. This next question is from She2, She4, New 3, Zoo 4. I hope. I hope that's what. And they ask, didn't know if you already knew, but there's a slot on Nova that says test when hovering over the formation circle. Not bothering me. Didn't know if it would be an issue on the back end.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I highlighted that because I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know why there's a slot that says test when hovering over the formation circle. It could be something left over from when we were kind of sandboxing the new Nova. but I will see if someone can look into that and see what is going on with that. Next question here is from question colon, which I assume is the punctuation. Can the tracker, and they ask, can the tracker include filter boxes for each patron, season quests, and achievements?
Yeah, so I tagged this question because this is actually kind of interesting in terms of feature creep on this particular one. Obviously, the quest tracker has gone over. I'm missing a word for it, but extremely well. And so we're going to continue to watch that and see what makes sense to add to it. But I don't see why in the future it may not be able to have some filters on that for the various things that it's showing. But we're going to have to just keep an eye on it and see what's being requested, because I don't want to sort of fill it out with absolutely everything until we've got a good idea of what makes the most sense and how it's being used. But I do like that idea. Next question. This one is from Nuknown. Did the weekly parties get a rework? I remember you saying that one of the champions would always be an evergreen that was always the same for everyone. But this week I've gotten 3 event champions as my weekly party. No complaints, just wondering because I did enjoy seeing what the evergreen specific gold chests look like.
Yeah, this is a good question. And apologies if there was some confusion there. The weekly event party, or the weekly parties will always include one of the same champions forever. It won't necessarily be an evergreen. And in the event that it is an event champion, if the player doesn't have that champion, then I think it could potentially get replaced by just a fixed champion. So there's kind of 2 possible fixed champions in the weekly party. I believe the way they're probably doing it is, and I haven't actually checked this, but if they do a champion that is an event champion, that they'll maybe do one that is from a recent event or from a currently running event, so that there's a higher chance that everyone will have it. But yeah, we don't necessarily guarantee that there'll always be an evergreen champion in there. It may very well be an event champion as the fixed champion that's the same for everyone. Let's see. The next question is from the Lurking Writer, who asks, would you like to update the title of the episode in the overlay? Nope, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm saying 19 is a fake number, therefore 57 is prime.
Yeah, you think that's what he was asking about, or the fact that we had the title wrong to begin with? It could be either
or.
One
works.
Yeah, either or.
It's a very versatile question.
You know, when you wrote that down, I actually almost checked it, and I was like, no, he wouldn't do that. He would not check that it was prime.
Yeah, and it's a really dumb one to not get too, because there's the old trick with to figure out if a number is divisible by 3, where you add up all of the digits in the number, and if that number that you add up is divisible by 3, then the whole number is divisible by 3. So I don't actually know why it works. So, but 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 is obviously divisible by 3. I'm not that dumb. So I should have known. I blame the fact that I was doing some mind-numbing data entry this morning, and that's why it just slipped my mind.
Yeah, that's why we didn't get anything updated. I had to drag you over here because you were too busy.
I was too busy putting in season 2 reward data. Woo!
Okay. Well,
you told me to have energy before the show, so I'm trying to have energy.
Yep.
Let's go to the next question.
This next question is from Branwen Kenku. And Bran asks, is there any chance we are getting common level X and T Modron pieces that could help people getting started piping?
This is a good question. And no, we are not planning on adding cross or T pieces commonly. Basically, as each rarity goes up, as you get into each rarity, it unlocks kind of the next type of piece. So the common pieces are all just one entrance, one exit. When you get up to uncommon, you get some of the T pieces, but you don't get directed T pieces. When you get up to rare, you get directed T pieces, you get directed T pieces and non-directed cross pieces. And then purple, you get the directed cross pieces. So that's a kind of progression through the rarities. I'm happy with that progression, and I don't really plan on messing around with that.
Okay. Next question. This question is from Nixus. Good day. Is hashtag Jeremy Clawford, our beloved confused tiger that just wants to exist, coming for adoption in the next 4 weeks?
Well, congratulations first on being the first one to ask about the Jeremy Clawford familiar, because there's like a bazillion questions about that in here, or at least two. Um, I don't know. I don't know if Jeremy Clawford is coming, and I don't know when they're coming, or if they're coming, or anything like that. But keep on asking, because eventually maybe I will know something.
They didn't tell you?
No, I know. I'm just trying to keep.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you want to ask this next one, or do you want me to ask you it?
Doesn't matter to me.
All right. I've answered a bunch in a row. Let's go for you. This one is from Nutta42, who asks, in variants that restrict champions based on stats, would it be possible to get an icon on the portraits for ineligible champions that have an available feat that would make them qualify? If it could also appear grayed out if you have not already unlocked the feat, I might be able to play this game without needing a spreadsheet open at all times. I thought that was a very well-structured question. I'm just saying I didn't have to edit it at all in my head.
I agree, and having a spreadsheet open at all times is probably helpful, even if we solve this particular issue. That said, this is a variant of a question that was asked last week that we did highlight and tag as something that we would take a look at. It's definitely a very useful feature, and it's a feature that's been requested numerous times, and so I'll highlight this one as well, or Justin is going to do it.
You can do it. There we go.
There we are. You can't see it, but it's bright yellow for us to go through and remember which items we promised that we would address. So yeah, no, I definitely think that is a useful piece to have, and it is now tagged twice. So
super useful. Yeah.
That will be into the development queue, and as many of you know, we don't know exactly when that will come out the development queue, but it's definitely going in.
Goes in one side and hopefully comes out at some point.
It's taking a really weird path inside.
It goes into a Modron pipe thing, and then it's just like, anyway.
Yeah, and it's got to go through the food court and get a sandwich, and
this is like the silliest dev insights we've had in a while. Next question is from Shraven420, who asks, can we get a visual indicator for the event chest pity timer?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, right? Because it's kind of how much do we leave, how much do we indicate, and how much do we kind of leave up to a little bit of surprise, I guess, right? Because like we've got some indicators on the chests when the next epic item will be in the events. What is it? Every 3, Justin? You're guaranteed every 3 adventures.
Every 4th adventure, yeah. It's a 1 in 3 shot for an epic in each one, and then I think we give you one every after you go 3 without getting one.
Yeah, I mean, my initial inclination on something like this is because it's so frequent that it's something that I wouldn't want to put a timer on or a visual indicator on. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think at a certain point it may just be confusing to be like, okay, you got this thing that's got like 3 ticks in it, and sometimes you get a chest on the first one, and sometimes you get a chest on the second one, and sometimes you get a chest on the third one, and it may just be a little bit overkill for how simple it is to really get them. I could see, I guess, because you're kind of spreading out your currency between the different ones, it could be useful if you've kind of been doing random free plays to be like, hey, I've got like 1 more run left, where's my best chance of getting a chest?
Well, that's what the spreadsheet is for, right? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we get this, if some people sort of double down on this suggestion and we start to see it more often, then we could probably consider it.
Yeah. Okay. Next question here. This is one that we haven't had in a while, but it is one that does come up. And this is a question. It's from Karachar000, asking, was there ever any thought put into allowing players to create their own character?
Yeah, this is a really good question, and the answer is yes. There was some thought put into allowing players to create their own character. It wasn't a whole lot of thought, because it very quickly got to a point of that sounds like a whole lot of art and a whole lot of work for potentially not a lot of gain in this particular type of game. I think that, if everybody wanted to have kind of a custom looking character, we'd start to run into a lot of issues with just having a whole bunch of art assets that we'd need to put together. And then in terms of putting together, your own character with their own, say, abilities or whatnot, I think we'd start to run into a lot of min-maxing and balancing issues with that, and sort of how to, I think there would very quickly be kind of an optimal build. Sort of the thing we can do with the characters that we create is we can give them sort of benefits and also drawbacks. And so, those drawbacks make it so there's places where maybe this character isn't the best character to use. All characters get that, except for Briv, apparently. And so that sort of allows us to balance the champions against each other and not have like one champion that is, just plainly the best champion that can be used absolutely everywhere. So that's part of the reason why I think we've avoided so far doing sort of a create your own character. I don't know if you have some other thoughts, Dave, that I haven't covered there.
Yeah, I mean, all I can start thinking of is all the various complications that it would create in terms of balance. It sort of adds the question of, well, what slot does it go into, and sort of what other characters is it synergizing with, and then if you're adding when you add abilities, well, as you said, like, are there counters to that actually sort of make them more of an even balanced character? Or would it be like all the players would figure out what the best items were, and then that would just be the build you would use for that particular type? And that's in addition to the idea of like being able to perhaps customize the appearance of that character. So yeah, I mean, it becomes really tricky in terms of balance. I know even just getting the main characters in and balanced properly is a challenge unto itself, without allowing the addition of user created characters. And then it would add the third question of like, is it user created character or is it user created characters? And at that point it starts to become a question of, I don't feel like if we had a system that let you customize a character, that we wouldn't be able to allow you to have multiple customized characters, because that would start to become definitely out of balance. And then, as you pointed out, doing art for customizing that for a single character seems like that would be a lot of resources on going into one system that was we were unable to, for balance reasons, use multiples of. I don't know. It's got a lot of questions in it that would have to be sort of solved before something like that would be possible. And I think we kind of looked at that and said, I think that is kind of incompatible with the current game design. So
yeah.
Okay, next question here is from Lost Demented. Who is unknown target?
Yeah, we've got a couple of these questions in here that I've seen. So yeah, this is in regards to, I believe it's a tier 6 item. It's something that adds to your season buff that increases the health of all champions by 200%. And it currently says that it increases the health of unknown target by 200%. Now, rest assured, it is actually increasing the health of all champions. Now that it says unknown target. Previously it said it increased the health of all champions, but actually didn't, because it was using an effect key that doesn't actually work. So this new effect key does actually do the thing. It just displays the wrong message, and we figured displaying the wrong message temporarily until we could get a client-side fix out is better than having the ability just not work at all. So it's a minor display glitch only. It is working. But it just has that unknown target thing in there. Next question is from Fanko Fafu. We got this question from a few people too. I also saw it here from someone else.
Yeah, there's a couple lower down. I think this was the first one.
Yeah, so they say for the new shop that will arrive tomorrow, actually this is a confusingly worded one. It says the store 3 that will arrive tomorrow will keep the familiar in the store 2 available for the new players. I'm not sure what they're asking there. It might be what these other people are asking.
I mean, if we interpret this one to potentially, it's asking about store 2. I think it might be asking if when the shop 3 option arrives tomorrow, which has a free familiar that we've been talking about, will that familiar also be available in store 2? I think that's what the question is.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The answer on that is no. The familiar was only available in store 3. It will become available for every player in store 3 who also has Store 3. If you're already in Store 3, it will become available for you when that launches. And then at the end of the month, we will be doing a forced transition. So if you don't opt in, I don't know what the exact date is, but right near the end of October, we'll be switching everyone over to Store 3, and the Familiar will, of course, be there available for everyone at that point, going forward.
Yeah. So TLDR, free Familiar, not in Shop 2. Convert to the new shop experience, aka Shop 3, to get that for free.
Oh, no, we got an update here in the chat. Okay. Fanco is saying, the question is if the Familiar is in Store 2, will still be available in Store 3. Yes. Store 3 has everything in it that Store 2 does, as well as a few additional items that have not been available in Store 2, which includes the Nerds champion.
Nerds champion, and some click skins, I think. Yeah. Okay, the next question is from What and Varno. And they ask, could we get a way to skip the animation of the locked chest that moves around and opens when you redeem a code? I tend to do mine in batches, and it easily doubles the time it takes to put them all in.
Yeah, so the answer to that is, I think yes and no. I'm trying to remember if that's actually covering up.
I don't think it's covering any timing.
Yeah, I think it's the other chests that cover the time, right?
Yes. Yeah, and the chest like drops down from the top and then wiggles. That's just covering for the fact that we're going to the server to figure out what's in it.
Yeah, but the drop down on the one that is when the code goes in, the timing on that happens right after you hit the code, I think.
No, I think he's referring to when you click on the chest, it kind of pops out of where it's sitting, and then the cryptics, the spinny thing pops up, and then you put in the code, and
then the gift chest drops down, opens up,
and then the chest goes away.
So potentially
it drops down. It's
talking about both, right? Because there's the animation of the chest that jumps in, and then there's the animation of the chest that falls in, both of which are adding time to the process.
Yeah, but the difference is that the one with the chest in the background that pops out and goes back, like that one runs every single time. And so I think if we just got rid of that one, if you have multiple codes to enter, I think that would save a lot of time.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good question of how I can definitely see wanting to do that. I wouldn't want to disable it entirely for players who haven't seen it as part of like the first time you do something like that. Could be an option. I don't know. I think alternatively, when you do it, you click and it just immediately comes up instead of playing the animation. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm thinking of a couple of different options in my head. It may very well be something we need to discuss afterwards.
Sure.
All right.
Next question. This next question is from Libnock. Can we get Forge current cost and next reduction time added to the Forge hover tooltip?
Yeah, so I highlighted this question not because I have a good answer for it, but because it's a good opportunity to talk about the next steps in the Trials Amount Tiamat changes after the ones from this build lock get out. We are going to be focusing on doing just some minor kind of updates to legendary crafting that will assumedly include some way to filter and sort the champions in the legendary crafting dialogue. But we'll also include some changes to forge costs, reforging, and leveling up. So we are not likely to put the current cost and reduction time on the Forge Hover tooltip right now because that feature may very well go away with these updates and won't be as pertinent anymore for forging legendaries. But there's some stuff coming there. Let's see. It looks like it's my favorite time of the stream.
It's aluminum chest time?
It's silver rosy chest time. No, it's oh God, thanks, Martin. Great keyword. So we're about to start the giveaway. This is the part of the stream where we give away 42 chests of your choice. If you win, you get to choose what type of chests you get. The way it works is a keyword will appear in chat. and then everyone will start spamming that keyword. All you do is just paste in that same keyword, and you'll be automatically entered into the draw to win 42 chests of your choice. You get to pick the chests. Could be any type of chests. Silver Cridal chests would be really good. You could do the season 1 chests if you wanted gear for all of the Heroes champions. You could get Modron chests if you wanted some of those cross pieces or T pieces. You can get all sorts of stuff. Anyway, that should start soon in chat. I'm kind of delaying until it does, until I see it in there, and it's any minute now it'll show up. There it is there. So yes, type divide by 3, all one word, all spelled out, in chat, and you'll be entered to win the chests of your choice, except for Glory Bahamut chests.
Yeah. So the next episode number that is Prime, Justin, is 59. So are we going to do a similar thing then, or
I think we
used it up?
You know what? I think we should wait until the next one after that, which I'm pretty sure is 61. No one correct me on this. I'm pretty sure 61 is divisible.
I mean, there's been a lot of Prime numbered episodes between the beginning and now. I don't know that
61 Prime.
Yes, okay. 61 is Prime.
Anyway, on to the next question.
Okay. Where were we? Okay. The next question is from Foolish Genius 89. Can we please have an option to make Bud larger on console? It is very small and it scrolls off the screen.
Yeah, so this is, I think we had this question a few weeks ago, and I think we did highlight that it's definitely something that we need to find a way to make more apparent on console. I guess the big problem is that if you if there's a bunch of stuff on the kind of the right side of the ultimate bar there, it can be very easy to scroll it off, and we are stuffing more and more stuff down there because there's a limited number of controller option or buttons to access things directly. So I do think this is something that we'll need to address at some point. Maybe by making the Bud part of that sticky so it kind of stays on the screen at all time and everything else kind of scrolls behind it, or maybe by having an option to show your Bud in in sort of the main DPS box there as well. I'll have to do something there. The next question here is from Quint Squad. This is actually the question that I thought I was asking earlier, but it bears repeating just so we can be clear about this. But they ask, do we get the free opt-in Shop 3 familiar if we already have the new shop? So for players who are already in Shop 3 because they got added to the A/B test or they're on one of the platforms that already has it, do they get the free familiar as well?
Yeah, and that will be available in the shop shortly after we go live with the shop opt-in, the shop opt-in, which should be sometime, I believe, around noon tomorrow. I think that's the plan, but could be before that. But sometime tomorrow when we turn that on, that familiar will become available in the shop for free for all players who are on Shop 3.
Yeah, whether or not you're newly in or have been in there for 9 months, you will still be able to access that new familiar.
Okay. Next question here is from Foolish Genius 89 asking, as you two love to joke about silver rosy chests, one day can the show code for Dev Insights give silver rosy chests?
I think if we ever have an episode that happens to fall on April 1st or something like that, that'd be a really funny thing to do. But I think we'll just continue to do Electrum chests for the time being.
Okay.
Let's see. I can do this next one for you. This is from Cassius335. This is actually something I didn't even know that we'd gotten pushed out. Probably just on Steam.
You talked about this morning, right? Or not this morning, at the beginning of the show.
No, was that in the beginning of the show thing? No, this was a tab thing. This was not included in the list of things at the beginning of the show. But they're asking, in the season reward screen, collapsed tiers do not remember to stay collapsed between sessions. Can that be fixed?
Absolutely. And we didn't already fix this? Why do I have it in my head we already fixed this? I will confirm, but if we haven't, we definitely can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't used to collapse, and that was on the quality of life list for season updates. I didn't realize that we'd already gotten that out. But yeah, we should be able to find a way to do that. It just needs to be stored.
And the sort of the addendum questions that were added here, we're asking maybe a collapse all instead. But no, we can fix it so that it saves which ones that you've already collapsed, which I think is the better solution.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Lesh68. Can there be an indicator for which are evergreen champs and which are not? I can never remember which are.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the best way to go about doing this is.
A little tree symbol on the character sheet, I think.
A little evergreen tree symbol. Yeah. I think it's maybe we could even just do the opposite kind of thing where we have an indication of which event the champion is from, and then if it doesn't have that indication, then you know that it's evergreen. That might be something that's a little bit more straightforward and doesn't require folks to know our kind of internal language for champions for brand new players. It's probably the better way to do this, just to show the event that they come from on the character dialogue somewhere.
I'm just.
And then we could potentially even have that kind of grayed out if they came from that event, but they're not going to be available in it anymore. I think that was a question we got a couple of weeks ago.
Right. I'm just noticing in the chat that the lurking writer is saying, no, not instead of the collapse all, but in addition. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll highlight that portion too. Okay, where are we at? Next question here is from Zyron Z. Will we be able to buy Bardic Inspiration Volume 3 for playing outside of the in-game jukebox? And if so, when?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think that if I recall correctly, there were a couple of hiccups trying to get that to happen. So for the time being, Bardic Inspiration Volume 3 will only be available in the in-game jukebox, and we will update you guys on any progress if that occurs.
Okay. Next question from Foolish Genius 89. You said it was unlikely to include evergreen champs in the seasons. However, Champions of the Hall would be an amazing season.
It doesn't say that. It says Companions of the Hall.
Companions. Well, at least I knew that 50s. And any comments on this possibility?
Yeah, I think Companions of the Hall would be an amazing season. Unfortunately, we would have to find a way to do it without potentially having evergreens in the season. And part of the reason for that is we don't want to have a lot of because we generally do dismantles at the beginning of the season, or we did for season 1, and we may very well keep that going forward. But it would be just a little bit too powerful to have a bunch of sort of evergreen or core champion dismantles right at the beginning of a season. So probably not going to do that. And instead we're going to focus on affiliations that have more champions in the in sort of the event and event champion pool. But it's not to say that we will never do affiliations that have some champions in the evergreen pool. But just we want to make sure we've always got those kind of 5 event champions.
Okay. The next question here I thought was a particularly important question for you to answer, Justin. This is a question from TTRP GIFs. Hopefully not GIFs. GIFs is not the correct pronunciation. It is GIFs. They ask or say, both say then ask, I guess. Hi, big fan. Would it be possible for a player not to attack owlbears in the game and simply befriend them?
Yeah, great question. I I don't think so. No, I don't think it would be possible. Then you wouldn't be able to get through the area when the owlbears are attacking you. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't go out and hunt owlbears, but if they're attacking me first, I think I'm within my rights to self-defense. It's all just self-defense.
I mean, if you could befriend them though instead,
But they're coming for me.
But befriending them would mean that they're not your friend too.
They're big claws.
I mean, it's just not written that way, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Okay. This is probably a more serious question. This one is from the Lurking Writer. The Lurking Writer asks, when quests are completed in the patron screens, they remain visible until the weekly reset. Could there be a completed seasons quest tab so that we can keep track of the kinds of quests that have been completed, especially the daily ones, because we don't even have a counter for that as we do for milestones?
Great question. This is something that is on the quality of life list for seasons. I don't know that we'll get it in for season 2 or before season 2, but it is something that we want to do. We want to get that. Have some way to kind of look at what quests you've completed. I believe we have or will be adding a counter to the daily quests shortly, so that you'll be able to see them there, see which ones you've or see how many you've completed at least, so you can kind of verify that your season level and currency and all that is correct, or see how many you've kind of missed from the start of the season to now. But a completed seasons tab or a completed quest tab in the season dialogue is something that I would like to do. If not for this next build lock, then at some point during season 2 or the beginning of season 3.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Mateus Zero, and they ask, for automation, can bounty contracts be added to the set buffs on the Modron cores for when you want to have it run events?
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting question, because there is like that one edge case for it, where I guess you would have you would want to set up your automation to basically open a whole bunch or use a whole bunch of bounty contracts, so that you get enough tokens to run the event or to restart the time or the free play. I can't learn how to talk here. To restart the free play automatically without the risk of running out of event currency. Unfortunately, the current way we have it can only use one of each buff, so I don't think you'll be able to get enough currency to kind of guarantee that you can keep running, considering you have to get up to 2,500, and I think the biggest bounty contract will only give out, I think 48 or something like that, or not even how much it gives out. No, it gives out more than that. It gives out 8 hours worth.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Anyway, it likely wouldn't give out enough to keep on going. With that said, I think we have talked about potentially adding more features to that to the buffs thing, and so potentially at that point, this is something that we can revisit or maybe even just honestly just an option to be like. To have like at the end of a run, if it's an event free play, you could set it to like use bounty contracts in order to start a new one, and just have that be like a tick box or something. So I can definitely see that use case.
All right. Next question here is from Dave Modi. How about a variant that shuffles the seats for all the champs?
What a great idea. I'm just going to mark that one in yellow, and I will use that whenever I want to frighten our developers. They'll be like, no, I can't do the speech. And I'll be like, if you don't, I'll make you do a variant that shuffles the seats for all the champions. And they'll be like, okay, fine, we'll do the easier thing.
Uh-huh.
I guess the TLDR on that, this would be a super complicated thing to do. So I don't think we're going to do it.
Yeah, is it up there with having a champion that mimics a champion nearbys complete ability stack?
Yeah, I think it's at least as annoying to do as that.
Yeah, then that opens up all kinds of issues. But yeah. Okay. Next question. This one is from Thunder JP. And Thunder JP asks, how much does the power level of other characters in a slot factor into the power level of new characters that you create for that slot?
It does factor in to a certain degree. We generally balance towards kind of a fixed power level. So I think when we're thinking about abilities for champions and slots, when we're doing kind of the initial champion design, we do think about who else is in that slot, what abilities they have, what roles they have. But we generally will try to balance everyone kind of to the same level. The champions that are more powerful in a certain slot are generally going to be more powerful either because of their synergies or because I just messed up the balance and didn't take something into consideration when I was running the numbers on them. So in general, we try to balance everyone to around the same level, and we don't, like, for example, when we're balancing champions in slot 11, we're not going and making them all super ridiculously powerful just to try and keep up with Averin. Instead, we kind of balance to the same level, and eventually we'll kind of try and either bring everyone up to Averin, or we'll just take Averin out back. And next question.
Do what?
This next question is from Maxi Kubert, who asks, do you plan on making other languages, French for him or her, translations better? They are currently very bad in-game things, for in-game things. Storylines may be better from the little I've read.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a tricky one, because a lot of the stuff in game, especially sort of the descriptions of abilities, are actually very, very difficult to get concise and understandable, even in our native language of English. So having the translated ones be as perfect and concise it means that the people who are doing the translations would have to have sort of the same level of comprehension of the game mechanic itself as we do. Now that said, the people that we've been working with, the team that does the translations, we've been working with them for over a year now, I think, on this one. Seem to do quite a good job, but it's definitely not perfect on some of the elements that are difficult to even get, like I say, correct in English. I think the story items probably are cleaner because they're more of sort of just more descriptive and less sort of technical in what they're describing.
Yeah.
But I think if there's anything that's like particularly bad, it can be brought up. I don't know, I feel like I'm trying to think what's the easiest way to sort of bring something like that to our attention. Because like I say, if something is particularly bad, we could get it reviewed. But in general, there's just like, hundreds, if not thousands of descriptions of abilities in the game that as having been through the translations, some are going to be better than others, but it's a monumental task to get it to where we did get it to. And so I think incrementally we might be able to make some things, improve some things if it's pointed out that they're not perfect to us. It's secondarily more difficult for us because I think as far as people on the team goes, we don't have a lot of people who have more than 2 languages, let alone for a lot of us don't even speak 2 languages. So it's difficult to look at it and say, oh yeah, that's great, or not. So the QA process, which is something that our translation company does do for us, is difficult. So yeah, I think sort of the long and the short of that one is we don't have specific plans to go through and make any of that, to do another pass on that. But if there's something that's particularly bad, if it's pointed out to us, like passing a ticket, now we can get it, have a second pass on that and see if they can make an improvement to it. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. I think, throw open a ticket, and if we get a bunch of reports about the same thing, then we can definitely take a stab at that.
Yeah. Next question. This one is also from Max I. Kubert. Is there no way to buy gems?
It's a great question for newer players, and in fact, there is no way to buy gems. Gems only come from defeating bosses.
Oh, I thought you had to farm them.
Well, no, you farm gold with the Farmer Azaka skin. If you want gems, you have to defeat bosses.
You learn something
Can't be
every
fun.
day.
Their bosses are non-renewable. Non-renewable.
Non-renewables.
I guess technically they. Okay. Next question is from SailNet. We're getting close to the end here. And they ask, since silver chests contain half as many items as gold chests, can the maximum number to open at once be doubled?
Well, it's not technically half. I mean, we're looking at 3 versus 5, so
3/5. Excuse me, that's not exactly half. That's 60%.
Okay. Yeah, you might be a little sensitive today about math, but
I'm not the only one who's bad at math. No, just kidding.
You know, I don't have a good answer for this beyond it's not something that we're going to do at this time. I mean, I think sort of realistically, there are fewer items, which means that the call to open a silver chest would have a slightly lower impact on the server, which I know is part of why we have in the past limited the number that you can open in one go, because certainly server request time is limited, and when there's a large number of people all making requests, if someone has decided to pass in a call, it's going to take several seconds to complete. That does leave other players sort of in the lurch waiting for server time, so we prefer to make sure those calls go through as quickly as possible. So I think, as I said, technically the silver calls for 50 are probably slightly faster than 50 calls for gold chests, but it's probably not something that we're going to adjust granularly like that.
I did see some, just with regards to the previous question about gems, there are some folks pointing out that you can get gems as part of a wild offer. That is true. I didn't really consider that as being like a straightforward way to buy gems. I guess technically if you wait for an offer that has gems in it, you can get some gems by buying the offer, but they're not really the primary thing in the offer. And I guess the main thing is there's no way to just go to the store and be like, I want 10,000 gems for money.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Jing Ixon.
We often struggle with this name. This is a regular question
asker. And they ask, once everyone has Store 3 and thus access to nerds, will we get feats to allow them to qualify for some patrons?
Probably not. Maybe at some point, but probably not. It's not something that's a high priority, I think, for us. Nerds was always kind of, because of the way that it was initially released, which is you had to it was a co-promotion with the Nerds candy, and you had to go out and actually buy some candy and get a code and redeem it that way. We purposefully kind of made it like not something that would ever be top meta. And so I don't think that we will really go out of our way to enable it now, just because it's now in Shop 3 and people can get it through for gems. So probably not, but who knows? And we got one last question here.
No.
And I think this is a nice bookend for the stream, because we started the stream with this question. We started the stream with this question, and we're going to end the stream with this question, because clearly it's something that a lot of people want to know. This question is from Kazumade-su76, who asks, what programming languages did you guys use to create the game?
In fairness, it was the third question we answered.
Fourth question. I'm bad at math, and don't use the number 3.
All right, well, we don't have enough time to answer this in detail. Front end is Unity with C#, and the back end is MySQL and PHP. I know MySQL is not a language, but it is what we use for our database, and PHP is the language on the back end. And yeah, Unity, C#, MySQL, PHP. And that is definitely all the time we have for questions today.
Yeah, if we didn't get to your question, don't worry. We will have another opportunity. We'll be live again at the same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Mars and Martin. They're the two guys who copy your questions into our questions doc and generally make things awesome. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
We do. All right, that's enough. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
It's the last time I trust you on what number is prime.
Oh man, I'm so embarrassed. Quick, turn off the stream before they hear me cry.